Hi, I'm Leba from Yoga Lounge and Bar. Today is yoga for first responders. First, let me say thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I know that you're putting yourself in harm's way for the betterment of our entire society and selflessly acting to help others. I know that this takes a physical, emotional, and mental toll on you, and my goal today is to give you some space, give you time to recharge your emotional batteries and to move through some of the physical, mental, emotional tension that's building up in your body as it relates to dealing with trauma. Trauma is anything that overwhelms our capacity to cope. We're dealing with a collective trauma as a society right now, and no one probably more so than you. And it's okay to feel however you feel. But it's also important to really feel all of those things. So oftentimes when we're dealing with trauma, we either become hyper-reactive or numb. And it's important to move through these emotions, to move through the physicality of how it's manifesting in our bodies, with the change in our cortisol, with our adrenaline, with the blood that rushes to our muscles when we're in fight or flight or freeze, and to try to calm our nervous system. So it's important, not just physically, but also mentally. It helps us to move forward, and it helps us to stay safe. So it's important to take care of yourself. Please, please take care of yourself too. Take this time, get anything that you might need, dress comfortably. You might want a block, you might want some water, you might want layers, you might want a pillow or a blanket. So, like I mentioned, this is designed to help your nervous system and to regulate some of the other fight, flight, or freeze responses that happen in our bodies. As mammals, we are designed to have these physical reactions to times of stress because we need it in order to react. However, if you are unable to react in the way that your body is designed, like shaking it off or to run or to do something in the moment, we can have these things start to store up in our bodies. And especially if we are numbing out whenever we're not in the thick of it, it can be difficult because it starts to layer on. So what I want you to do for today is just give yourself permission to feel however you feel, to just notice, most of all, notice where your tension is in your body, notice how your breath is, and to label those things so that you can start to identify and notice when you're getting into that kind of place so that you can recover more quickly whenever that stuff comes up. So find a comfortable seat to start, and sometimes it feels more comfortable to sit up onto something. So to elevate your hips, I'm going to go from the side so you can see. If you're sitting in a crisscross applesauce style position, it's helpful if your hips are elevated above your knees, because then your hips don't have to be quite as mobile as they would be if you were sitting straight onto the floor. If crossing your knees isn't comfortable, or if this is too much flexion in your knees, you could always have your legs extended. You could sit in a chair. Anywhere where you can feel your sitting bones rooting down, you can have a tall spine, and you can breathe fully in the full capacity of your lungs, not just in your chest, but start to move some of that breath into your side ribs and into your back. So as I mentioned, your blood rushes to your muscles when you're dealing with stress because it's anticipating to need to use all of our big muscles to run away from the stressful situation. And you are not running away from the situation, you're running towards it. So we need a way to dispel all of that extra energy and extra focus that our body's placing on our muscles so that we can release the tension and everything can start to flow a little more freely. We also need to increase and lengthen and deepen our respiration to help regulate our nervous system, and it helps to calm our mind. So we'll start in a comfortable seat. Feel the sitting bones rooting down. Take any necessary adjustments. And another thing that you should know, for when you're feeling overwhelmed or when you're feeling the need to cope, you may not be as comfortable closing your eyes as you may have been maybe before your constant stress. So if it doesn't feel good to close your eyes all the way, just look down the ridge of your nose, soften your eyelids a little bit, and look down without tucking the chin a lot. But sometimes closing your eyes can re-trigger that cycle of trauma, where you might replay some of the incidences or overthink some of the situations that you've been in. So if you need to find a focal point just somewhere on the ground, that might be helpful if you're having trouble sitting still or closing your eyes. Just know that that's very normal. Just find somewhere where you can sit and soften your gaze and get really intentional about a singular point of focus, so that your eyes aren't darting all over, taking in more information and overloading your system even more. Just find one thing. It could be a piece of fuzz or anything on the ground. So just find somewhere that's comfortable and roll your shoulders back a few times. Let the shoulders soften away from your ears. And we'll move a little more in a moment, but for right now, I just want you to kind of settle into your seat. So eyes gently closed, or perhaps for today, just looking down the ridge of your nose or finding a spot on the floor in which to focus. And begin just to notice your breath. Breath work is part of a yoga practice. Arguably, the most important part of the physical practice is the breath. Anytime that you can notice your breath, it brings awareness to that moment. It keeps you present. And when you notice your breath, notice first how it feels. And where you feel it first. Is it all in your chest? That's very common when you're in an anxious time. And by time, I mean, could be long periods of time. Or if your body is stuck in that fight or flight mode, if you're heavily into your sympathetic nervous system, everything is going to constrict a little bit, and you might feel a lot more breath in your chest. You know this. So sometimes knowing it for others isn't the same as feeling it for ourselves and remembering to care for ourselves the same way that we're caring for others. So notice where you're feeling it, and then try to move the breath down lower into your diaphragm, even into your belly. Feel a full belly expansion. Side ribs expanding. You might even notice your back, hopefully, is rising and falling. So without judgment, that's very important for your practice today. No attachment to any particular feeling, outcome, what it looks like. Just being in a place of complete love and forgiveness for yourself of whatever comes up. And sometimes when we take this time and take a step back and truly feel how we're feeling, you might feel a lot of emotions you might not expect. You might cry, and that's great. I don't want you to have to cry, but if crying is what you need, and a lot of us need to cry probably more than we allow for, know that that's part of the process of relieving the anxiety and to regulate those systems. It's trying to expel, right? It's trying to get rid of this stored up tension. And crying is a good way to do that. So you might find yourself crying, and that's part of it. It's all part of it. So if it's possible to deepen and lengthen the breath, slow it down. And we'll start with a 3-part breath. You'll breathe first into the low belly and let the belly expand. And then you'll feel it rising up into the side ribs. And then finally, the collarbones might lift as the breath rises up. To exhale, you'll exhale first from the collarbones and the tippy top of your lungs. Start to let it sensation lower down as you exhale, ribs draw in, and finally low belly draws up and in. For me, it helps to imagine a pitcher of water as it fills from the bottom for your inhale all the way to the top. And as it empties from the top all the way down to the bottom. So continue with your own breath, filling that pitcher of air as slowly as you can. Notice the 3 parts. Belly inflates first, side ribs, upper chest cavity. Release from the chest, the ribs, the diaphragm, the belly button draws up and in to squeeze those last few drops of air out. You might begin to notice the pause between the breaths. And if you feel any sort of panic or anxiety over the pause, just let it flow freely from one breath to the next. Sometimes the unknown of the breath pause can be a little unnerving. So if you feel that way, just let it flow. If it feels okay, let yourself enjoy the pause at the top and the bottom. With ease and with a gradual deepening and lengthening of the breath. Keep the breath comfortably full and comfortably empty, not forcing anything, just letting it continue. You don't want to feel like you're hyperventilating. You don't want to feel like a gasp of air or that you're struggling to squeeze the last few breaths out, but you want to notice the capacity. This next breath, we'll exhale all the breath out together. And then in through the nose, take a full breath in, belly, ribs, chest. And then open your mouth, unhinge your jaw. Just let the breath escape. Big breath in through the nose. And then open your mouth. Again, in through the nose. And open the mouth, sigh it out. Fill from the bottom to the top through the nose. Exhale from top to bottom through the mouth. Breathe in, let go, give yourself over to the breath. Breathe out, let go of control. Be okay with what is. Triggering that relaxation in the body and in the mind by exhaling out of the mouth. Again, breathe out all the air together. Breathe in love. Breathe out pain. Breathe in peace. Breathe out heartache. Breathe in peace. Breathe out peace. Continuing to make space for new emotions. Continuing to make space to feel what is and to let the exhales be an invitation to let go what's gripping onto you. Letting go of stress, letting go of overwhelm. Breathing in calm, peace, and presence. Compassion for yourself, compassion for others. And slowly start to bring your awareness back to your seat. Feel yourself anchored. And then if you're sitting on a block or a blanket or a pillow, you're going to come off of that area and you're going to come onto your mat, onto hands and knees. If your knees are sensitive, you might want to place your blanket under your knees. And we'll start to move through some cat-cow movement. You're going to bring your hands directly under your shoulders so that your elbows are under your shoulders and your wrists are under your elbows. Your knees are about hip distance apart, right under the hips. On an inhale, you'll drop your belly, lift your tailbone, lift your heart, and lift your chin. Inhale here. As you exhale, you'll drop the chin, drop the tailbone, and draw the belly button to the spine. Press the back to the sky. Inhaling, lift up. Exhaling, press everything away. Continue with your own breath. If it feels okay to soften the gaze once again, soften the gaze, or take a one-pointed fixation with your gaze just along the ridge of your nose. And then feel free to start to break out of that confines of that cat-cow. So you might circle around. This is a really good place to investigate where you're feeling the tension in your body. You might feel it in your hips, in your shoulders particularly. Shoulders, neck, and hips are probably the place you're going to start to feel it the most. So you might circle around. And then start to settle back into your cat-cow, just a regular, straightforward cat and cow. Coming to child's pose, you'll sink your hips back towards your heels and walk your hands forward. Allow your head to come down towards the mat. If it touches, fine. If it doesn't touch, fine. You might place a block or a pillow there to rest your head on if it doesn't come all the way down. And then just rock your forehead side to side. Come forward onto hands and knees. Coming to puppy pose, you'll walk your hands farther forward and keep your hips over your knees and start to soften your chest down towards the ground. So a nice big chest stretch here. You might feel it in the shoulders, in the triceps. Notice your breath here. See the effect of this pose on the breath. And anytime your mind starts to wander or goes too forward or past thinking, just invite all of your thoughts back to your breath. Try to stay with each breath as it comes and goes. Slide back to child's pose, hips to heels once again. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog. And if you find that this doesn't feel appropriate in your body today, you can come back to hands and knees and move through that cat-cow once more. If you're in downward facing dog, chest is going to press back towards the thighs, but you might bend your knees a lot and get your hips up nice and high. Start to pedal through the legs side to side. Again, targeting low back and outer hips here. Noticing for tension, being curious about what we might find in the body, moving through those points of tension. We store a lot of unreleased tension in our hips. They're really big muscles that can take on a lot. And also, if you're standing a lot or running around through the day, your hamstrings can take a lot. So you might need the knees bent, or you might straighten one leg at a time, trying to find that opening in the back of the legs. You might lift and lower your heels a few times. And then walk your feet to your hands. Come to the top of the mat. Clasping opposite elbows. Ragdoll. Let your head hang heavy here. Again, softening through the knees is going to help with any tension in the low back or tightness in the hamstrings. Let your arm bones be really heavy here to draw your arms away from your shoulders. You should also feel a stretch, or you might also feel a stretch here between the shoulder blades. Shake your head yes and no. Release your hands down, rising all the way to stand. Slow and controlled. Reach up. Inhale. Hands to your heart. Exhale. Bringing your hands to your heart. Ground down through your feet about hip distance apart. Let your hands come to heart center. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Slight tuck of the chin, and again, eyes closed or soften through the gaze. Setting an intention for our practice together today. May this practice connect me to my body. May I feel grounded. May I be open and aware of the sensations that arise in my body. May I find an overwhelming sense of gratitude and compassion for everything that's come so far, everything that's yet to come. And for this moment with my breath in my safety of my own body. Feel your feet. Notice your breath. May this be a healing practice for our bodies, for our minds, and for our hearts. Reach up, big breath in. Fold forward, exhale. Halfway lift, long, flat back. And you're gonna step your left foot back and come into a lunge. So make sure this front knee is not way beyond the ankle. You might cycle through a few times. Working through any tension that you're finding in your hamstrings, in your outer hips. If you need to drop that back knee at any time, feel free. Your left hand is going to come down either to a block, to a support, or to the mat. And your right arm is going to reach up, finding this big twist here. Really open up through the chest. Plant your hand. You're going to step, walk, drag, or assist your right leg all the way back into a downward facing dog. Left foot, step, drag, walk, or assist forward. Come into that low lunge, and again, just start to move forward and back. You might feel some hip flexor or psoas action here as well. Remember, you can always drop that back knee. Just breathe deeply here. Plant your right hand again. It could be on several books or a pillow. Left hand is coming to the sky. Notice your points of contact with the mat. Let that be an anchor for you so that you can reach up away from that anchor. Feel secure but also expansive. Left hand comes down. Again, downward facing dog, any way there is valid. You're going to shift forward into your high plank. Again, knees could be down here. And you're going to lower all the way down to the mat. Your hands are going to come down by your sides. You could be on palms or fingertips. Really press all 10 toes, the tops of your feet and your hip bones into the mat. And then lift your heart up. So you're not taking a ton of weight in your hands. The hands are just there to help. Use the strength of your back. Engage your belly, protect your low back, firm up your glutes, and really press your feet into the mat. The goal here is to lift and open the chest. Collarbones spread. Breathe. Shoulders roll back. Let the shoulders come away from the ears. Big breath in. And roll back down. Again, roll up. Inhale. Roll down. Exhale. Roll up. Inhale. Roll down. Exhale. Plant the hands, roll up, inhale. This time you're gonna stay here with elbows bent, or if it's in your practice or if it feels okay for the low back, you'll come to upward facing dog. So hands and feet will stay on the ground, but thighs will lift. Important here that the shoulders don't collapse to the ears. The whole point of these two postures is to lift and open the chest. If that's not happening, come back down. You can see my thighs are off the ground here. Press into your index knuckle. Roll shoulders back, big breath in. And roll back down, exhale. Take your right arm out to the side of the mat and bring your fingers in line with your eyes. Your left hand is gonna stay on the mat and you're gonna roll towards your right shoulder. So you're stretching the front of your shoulder here and your gaze is gonna come to the left. It doesn't take a lot of movement to get to a place where you're feeling it quite a bit, so take it slowly and decide how much of a stretch is necessary for you. If you need more sensation, that left foot could step behind, but that's quite a bit on the shoulder, so just be careful and only take what you need. It might just be lifting up that left hip a little bit. Rest your right cheek on the ground. Slowly roll through center and extend the left leg out. Bring the fingertips in line with your eyes. And then left cheek to the ground. Start to roll onto the left side. So it might just be a little lift of the right hip or the right foot might step behind. Big stretch in the front of the shoulder and the front of the chest. So one thing that happens during stress and as a physical response to stress and anxiety and trauma is to start to round in, not to mention all the physical hunching over and dealing with equipment and patients and everything that you need to do. So it's important to focus in your practice on really counteracting that by rolling everything open to really opening back up in the chest. It's hard because your body's trying to protect your heart, which is so poetic and beautiful, and it's trying to protect you from heartache. So moving in conjunction with your body to find balance. Come back through center. Now your elbows are going to come directly under your shoulders. Hands plant to the ground. Toes firmly on the mat. Again, shoulders are down, chest is lifted and forward. So feel this scooping motion as you lift your sternum, as you spread your collarbones. And slowly roll back down. Press back, child's pose to downward facing dog. So hips come to heels and then lift the hips up. Right foot's gonna step forward again. Doesn't have to be one step, it can be multiple steps. Crescent pose. Wonder if I'll be in frame here. Kinda. So back knee can come down if it's needed or desired. Arms are gonna reach up. Stretching the front of that left hip flexor. Keeping a neutral pelvis here, so watch if you're dipping really far forward. Try to shorten the front waist so hip bones come towards bottom ribs. Interlace your hands behind your back, or you could use a strap or a towel. And then again, we're focusing on lifting through the chest, opening up, rolling the shoulders back. Reach the arms up, warrior two, open up. So back heel drops, and you might decide to go heel to heel or heel to arch here. The front knee is bent, reaching long. Switch around so I can see you. You can see me. I really want you to settle into this one. Warrior two. Shoulders soften away from the ears. Big opening in the hips here. Firmly root down through the feet. For today, that's the most important part of the sensation. Feel your strong foundation. Everything lifts up and away from the hips, but from the hips down, strong, firm foundation. This pose, reach your arms out, gaze over the fingertips, find one finger that you like, and just look right there. Keep pressing your right knee open to the right. This pose reminds you that you are a warrior, that you can and will deal with everything that comes your way. You're a fighter, but you're also a lover. You're resilient. You're patient, and you're kind. You're strong, and you're enough. Straighten your front leg. Turn your toes to the long edge of the mat. Interlace your hands once again behind you and flat back, fold forward. Stretching the inner thighs on both legs, lengthening and stretching the low back. Release your hands down. So your right leg is forward and then you turn to this way. So you're gonna walk your hands over towards your left foot and come up crescent pose again. So your back heel is up, your back knee could be down, and your arms reach up. This time, goal post the arms. So take the elbows wide and draw the shoulder blades together. Draw the ribs in, send your tailbone down. Warrior two, open up. So you're facing the other way probably. Bend into the knee, soften into the shoulders, lift the ribs, tailbone down. Notice your feet. Find that focal point, stay right there. Notice the weight in each foot. Can you even it out? Imagine that you're standing on a balance, a scale. That you want even weight, even pressure in both feet. Once again, come into your mentality of a strong but gentle warrior. You've made it through every hard day you've had so far. Turn your toes to the long edge of your mat again and fold forward. This time your hands are wide. You're gonna grab the outside of the leg anywhere you can. Thighs, calves, ankles. Elbows bend wide, head comes towards the ground. Now, if you have a block or some sort of support, it might be nice to put it there so that you can actually rest your head if it doesn't touch the ground. So that you can find a place to, or you could even take a couple fists. But try to find a place where you can anchor down your head as well as your feet. Walk your hands forward, right hand down, left hand up. Try not to drop your right hip, but instead keep your hips level and find the twist, moving up the spine more and more above the belly button. Left hand down, right hand up. Watch that left hip that it's not dropping. Are you still breathing? And then walk your hands to the top of your mat. And come to downward facing dog. Pedal out the feet. And then walk your feet to your hands and come on to your seat once again. Okay, I'm going to take a hamstring stretch here. Your left leg will extend. Bring your right knee in and open the right leg up. Let me grab this block. You might want to have a block, a blanket, or a pillow handy here. So if you're feeling this in your knee, you could prop up your knee. That's one use. Shimmy around so sitting bones are even. Reach up, big breath in. And you're going to lead with your heart forward. Doesn't matter how far along the leg you end up, but try to find lots of length through your spine and try to find some sensation in the back of that left hamstring. So we want to find a place where it's active but relaxed, a little bit restorative. So for some, that's going to include maybe taking a block or a pillow could be on your thigh and you could rest on the pillow. Because we're going to hold it a little bit. So find a place, and if you don't have support and you're not close to your leg, you can just rest. Once again, coming back to that place of breath. So it's easy in uncertain times to unintentionally hold our breath. So it's more important than ever to focus, to have a focused breath practice. Rounding your spine, roll yourself all the way up. Extend your right leg, bend your left knee. Same thing here, whatever that is. Support or not, support the knee or not. Right hip draws back as the heart comes forward. You need to find a spot where you're feeling in the hamstring. If you go right away to rounding the spine, you're gonna bypass what you need most by a little bit. So long in the spine, even if it makes it so you're not as close to your leg, lengthen out. And then maintain that length as you come down to whatever your rest is. And then once again, breathe deep. Rounding the spine, roll yourself right on back up. And then take the soles of the feet together. Let the knees open wide. Find a tall seat. You can grab onto your ankles or to your feet. Lift your chest and lead your heart forward. So there might be a little bit of encouragement from the hands or from the forearms or elbows to the legs, but we don't want to force anything, and you don't want to feel this in your knees at all. The heels could be as far or as close to you as feels interesting to you. And you might feel this stretch in your low back, in your outer hips, in your inner thighs. But again, if it's mostly knees, take another variation, adjust as needed. Breathe. Rise on up. You're going to cross-legged position, just like you did at the beginning of class. And if you didn't do it at the beginning of class, take whatever variation you did. So notice what your natural tendency is for which leg goes in front. And then if that's the one that you already did, even it out by taking the opposite leg in front, just so that we're even side to side. You're going to bring your arms in front and take your right elbow under your left elbow. You're pressing the elbows towards the center, like towards each other, but it's as if you're pulling them apart. So when you do that, you might start to feel the sensation between the shoulder blades and the upper back. That's what we want. Shoulders soften down and back, away from the ears. You could stay right here. You could press the backs of the hands together, or you could wrap the hands together if it feels okay for the wrists or for anything else. You're going to lift your elbows up in line with your shoulders and press your wrists forward. Spread your fingers out. Watch that the ears aren't eating, or the shoulders aren't eating the ears. Keep them down. But it's going to be different for everybody where you feel it. Just hold here and breathe for 5 breaths. Inhale. Exhale, 5. Inhale. Exhale, 4. Inhale. Exhale, 3. Inhale. Exhale, 2. Inhale. And exhale. Let it go. Release the arms. Circle the shoulders out. Release the head around. Then we're going to take the other side. So left elbow's coming under right elbow. And again, arms push out, but they're locked in place. Backs of the hands together. You could take your hands to your shoulders, but you're not going to get that big stretch, and we will take this variation in a bit. So perhaps, if it feels possible to get those elbows close to each other, just have the hands separated. Otherwise, maybe hands are coming together, intertwined. Elbows up, wrists forward, shoulders down. Noticing how this might feel different on one side than the other. Five more breaths. Inhale. Exhale, 5. Try to get the breath to start low and go high. Inhale, fill the belly, the ribs, the chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, low belly draws in. That's 2. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Big, slow, long, deep breath in. And exhale, nice and slow, all the way out. Release your arms down and shake it out. Take your left ear towards your left shoulder. Stretch the right side of your neck. And you can mirror me or follow along, doesn't really matter. If you need more sensation here, that right hand could drop down beside you or walk slightly away from you. You could also place your left hand gently without any pressure, without any force, just placing it on the head. Open the jaw and close 3 times. Open, unhinge the jaw, and close. One more. Release everything, chin to chest, come back to center. Right ear, right shoulder. Walk the fingertips away to increase the distance between the fingers and the ear. Stay here if you need more hand to the head. Unhinge the jaw and close. Open. Close, open, close. Release the hand if you have it, chin to chest. Lift the chin to the sky, stretch your throat. Sometimes, you know the saying, there's a lump in your throat. Sometimes trauma, anxiety, stress can get stored right here. You don't have the words for what you're feeling, or you don't have the words for the situation. Sometimes it can feel like a physical knotting up in the throat. Stretch it out. Push your chin towards the ceiling. My dog always does this stretch. Animals are wise creatures. They have all of the coping mechanisms that we used to have. We have to regain. And chin to chest. Keeping the chin to chest, stay here or interlace hands. Again, gently. Hands just come to the head, elbows close, but you're not adding any additional force. Just stretching the back of the neck. And gently release. Okay. Grab your block if you have one. If you have a pillow, a couple of books, anything will work. If you have nothing, that'll work too. So you're going to come down onto your back and plant your feet hip distance apart. Knees towards the ceiling. Lifting up your hips, so press into the feet, lift your hips. And then you'll slide the block, the pillow, a bolster, a stack of books, your hands, if that's what you've got to work with, slide it under, and then let the hips lower down onto it. So if this feels like it's digging into your low back or into your spine, it's probably not low enough. You want it to just feel like it's supporting your pelvis. So your shoulder girdle and head is on the mat, but you can see here there's a big space from my low back to about my mid-thoracic, like where my bra strap would be. So if your block is up here and your butt is coming down on the other side of the block, it's not the same stretch. If it feels good, you could totally try it out. But for supported bridge, we're going to try to bring that block really low, the lowest, flattest part of the back. And then just let the entire weight of the pelvis completely rest. This should not feel like any effort on your part at all. So with just a slight tuck of the chin to lengthen the back of the neck and to keep everything neutral here. Let the shoulders just roll open however they want to be. And again, soften the eyelids. You could close them if it feels okay. You might just find a spot with soft eyelashes to gaze through. Staying with your breath, scanning the body for any tension that's calling out to you. Heed that call, go there with your exhale and allow it to dissolve the tension in that spot, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, energetic tension. Any stress that's manifesting as sensation, let it go. Respond to that invitation from your exhale to let go. Any waves of emotion that come up here, allow them to come up. Perhaps identify, label them, breathe through it, and allow it to subside. If you're near a wall and would like to take legs up the wall with a literal wall, it's, I think, significantly more relaxing because it requires less effort. But if you don't have a wall handy, simply lifting your legs up with the support of your block is the next best thing. Softening through the joints, soften through your knees, ankles, and every joint of your toes. If you are available wall space adjacent, you'll take your right hip or your left hip to the all the way up to the wall. And then as you come onto your back, you'll swivel your legs up the wall. Again, soften through the knees. If it's too much on the hamstrings, you could come farther away from the wall. And you'll just let your legs rest. Knees could be bent, legs could be straight. So wall or no wall, this pose is great for almost everything. It's a special love letter to your legs for carrying you through your day, to your heart for pumping blood all the way down the feet and back up the legs, resisting gravity in that way. It's calming to your nervous system and to your hormones, to your blood pressure. It's So wherever you are in your legs up the wall, we're going to hold this for about 5 minutes. If you have the time, 3 to 5 minutes. You could always pause and take this longer, or if next time you just want to take this pose on your own, here is how it goes. I invite you to stay with your breath in this legs up the wall, and any thoughts that come up, imagine that they're just clouds floating by in your consciousness. If they become too present, if they're trying to attach and linger, simply label them as past or future, and then send them on their way. Anything that isn't past or future will be present, and in the present, all you'll need to focus on is your breath. So any thought that comes up, future, let it go, nothing that you can do. Past, let it go, nothing that you can do. Present, stay here, breathe, slow it down, lengthen it out, smooth it out, and deepen it. If you have low blood pressure, I'm going to invite you to come back down to a supported bridge pose. Legs up the wall, Viparita Karani, is very good for high blood pressure, but because it lowers your blood pressure, if you already have low blood pressure, you don't need it for as long. So just let the feet settle back down onto the mat. You've got about 2 more minutes here. And if your feet are up, you'll slowly bring them back down to the mat. If you are at the wall, either scoot your seat away from the baseboard of the wall Drawing the knees to chest, or gently roll to your side. Take a moment and come back to your mat. If you still have a block under your seat, you'll lift your hips up high and slide your block out from underneath you. Slowly lower from your upper back to your mid back, low back, and tailbone. You'll take your feet slightly wider, pinky edges of the feet lining up with the edges of the mat, and allow the knees to softly come in towards center. So adjust the feet where they need to be so that your knees could support one another in a tent shape at the center for constructive rest. We're going to drape our arms, stacking our elbows and letting the hands come to opposite shoulders for a soothing, comforting clasping of the shoulders. Let the elbows rest down towards the chest. Couple big breaths here. Unravel your arms to goalpost arms. Bring your feet together, let your knees open wide for Supta Baddha Konasana. Let the low back neutralize here. And then taking the opposite elbow on top, hands come to opposite shoulders, elbows relax towards the chest. And then gently stretch the legs long. Flex the feet. Engage the legs so much the heels might even lift. Interlace the fingers and press your palms above your head. Stretch the body nice and long here. And then scoop the belly in. Like you're creating a little pool, stretching all the abdominal muscles. It's another place where tension might collect. So let the diaphragm stretch here. Feel it through the ribs. Relax everything down. And then again, inhale, stretch. Exhale, belly button to spine, feeling the connectivity of the diaphragm and of the ribs. Let it stretch that whole area out. More room for breath. And exhale again, release everything down. Let your feet come open and just relax. Let your hands come down by your sides, 6 to 8 inches away from your hips. Shoulders roll back until you feel supported by your shoulder blades. Let your palms turn up, or palms might turn down. So palms up will help to open up the chest to feel more expansive breath all the way to the chest. But if you're feeling vulnerable or chaotic or in need of anchoring, you might choose instead today to have hands down. Eyelids again can close, but they might choose for today to simply soften. Inhale, notice your feet, your heels to the mat. Exhale, feel your hands, whether it's the palms or the backs of the hands, press into the ground. Inhale, notice the soles of the feet. Exhale, anchor through the hands. Inhale and exhale. Bring your awareness to the four corners of the room that you're in. No matter how big or small the room is, notice all four walls just with your imagination. Draw your awareness onto your practice surface, whether it's a mat, a towel, the floor. Feel every place of your surface that connects with your body. Feel supported, grounded, aware and present of those spaces. Notice the parts of the body that come away from the surface, just with the natural curvature of the back of the neck, back of the knees, low back, wrists. Become aware of those spaces. Coming into Shavasana, your final resting pose. Scanning your body, starting with the crown of your head. Relax all the individual hairs on your scalp. Relax your forehead, your temples, in between your eyebrows, your cheeks, your jaw, the dimple underneath your nose. Notice the breath on your upper lip. Release any tension in your lips or in the corners of your mouth. In your chin. Separate your back teeth. Relax your tongue. Relax the sides of your neck. Relax the base of your skull. Let go of any tension in the vertebra of your neck. Release tension in your throat. Release tension in your clavicle, your collarbones, in between your collarbones, in your shoulders, your upper arm bones, the creases of your elbows, your lower arm bones, your palms, backs of the hands, all of your fingers and your thumbs. Not requiring any effort on your part, but simply to notice, to allow, and to relax. Notice the rise and fall, expansion and contraction of your ribs. Notice the rise and fall of your belly button. Feel the heaviness of your hips into the mat. Release your right upper leg bone, your right knee, behind your right knee. Let go, right calf, ankle, foot, toes, left toes, Sole of the left foot, left ankle, left lower leg, front of the left knee, back of the left knee, left upper thigh bone, left hamstring. Feel both hip points. Draw attention back to your belly button. To your sternum, your chest bone. To your throat. Between your eyebrows. In the center of your forehead, to the crown of your head. Let your whole body relax. Bring all of your attention to your breath. Start to intentionally, once again, lengthen and deepen the breath. Notice any changes in your breath from the beginning of your practice until now. Any changes in your energy, your body. Start to wiggle your toes and your fingers. Rub the tips of your fingers together. Notice the sensation. Circle the wrists in both directions. Point and flex the feet. Take another full body stretch. Reach your arms overhead. Big breath in. Open your mouth, sigh it out, relax, exhale. Bring your knees into your chest, roll to your right side. Let your right arm be your pillow or let your pillow be your pillow. Find a spot that's nurturing to you. Take a moment to notice feelings, emotions, sensations, thoughts. Take a moment to let go of expectations on yourself, on others, of your practice, of outcomes. Let go of judgment, fear, anxiety, overwhelm. Allow more space for your breath, for presence, for peace, compassion, love, allow all those things to apply to yourself as much, at least as much as you apply it to others. Start to press yourself up to a comfortable seat, whatever that is for you. Drawing your hands to heart center, letting the thumbs connect with the heart space, finding that connection. Press your palms together, press your fingers together. Take a few deep breaths here and let this be an anchor for you. When you're in moments of stress, anxiety, of overwhelming, whatever's going on. Create this muscle memory for your breath, for your mind, and for your body. That when you draw your hands to your heart, when you feel your fingertips pressing against each other, that you'll drop into your breath. If only for a few moments. You'll feel your feet on the ground or your seat on the ground. You'll feel your hands. And you'll slow down your breath. You'll deepen, lengthen, and appreciate each breath that comes. We end each practice by honoring that sameness within all of us, that light, that love. First, we'll send up our intentions, our wishes for all beings everywhere to be happy, to be safe, healthy, and free from suffering. May our actions, our intentions, our words, and our thoughts contribute to that happiness, safety, health, freedom, and lack of suffering of each other, of everyone, and of ourselves as well. May we be blessed. May you be blessed. May everyone be blessed. Honoring that sameness in all of us, we bow our heads and together we say, Namaste. Okay. Thank you for taking this time to move and to breathe, to feel. Thank you for your service, for your time, for your generosity, and we're all in this together. So this class was designed for first responders, but we are all going through a collective trauma. We're all having issues dealing with overwhelming capacity to cope, anxiety, stress, and unknowns. So this class might be beneficial to anyone, whether you're a stay-at-home hero or first responder or essential worker. We appreciate everything that everyone does to keep us together, to keep us safe as a society, as a community, because we are all one. Thank you. Be well, be safe, stay home.